بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We've been studying loyalty or wafa, and we said wafa has different types. It can be loyalty with respect to the covenant which is between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It can be loyalty with respect to the covenants we make with other people. It can be with respect to promises, which is bilateral. You promise to do something. It's not a contract. It's not ahd, a covenant. You may promise even to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm going to do this. Wafa requires to keep your promise. You can promise your child. And we said sometimes it's also not in the form of a covenant or a promise. It is a kind of loyalty that a grateful person has towards someone or some group, organizations that he has benefited from, or his country, his land. So this is also wafa. It can be towards leadership. It can be towards scholars that we have learned from. So a very comprehensive concept. I would like to share with you today a very beautiful hadith. This hadith that I want to begin with is from Imam Baqir alayhi salam, and Sheikh Tusi in his Amali has mentioned this hadith. Sheikh Mufid also in his Amali has mentioned this. Allama Majlisi in Biharul Anwar reports the hadith from both Amali of Mufid and Amali of Sheikh Tusi. It's in Biharul Anwar, volume 66, page 380. And Thumali and Abi Ja'far alayhi salam. Abu Hamza al-Thumali mentions this hadith from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. قال أربع من كن فيه كمل إسلامه. Very beautiful hadith. There are four things that whoever has these four, his Islam is complete. His Iman is complete. Without this is naqis, it's incomplete. Kamula Islamuh wa u'ina ala imaneh, and he would be assisted with respect to his faith. Wa muhhasat dhunubuh, he would be cleaned from all his sins. They will all drop. وَلَقِيَ رَبَّهُ وَهُوَ عَنْهُ رَاضٍ, he would meet his Lord while he is pleased with him. وَلَوْ كَانَ فِي مَا بَيْنَ قَرْنِهِ إِلَىٰ قَدَمَيْهِ ذُنُوبٌ حَطَّهَا اللَّهُ عَنْهُ. Even if this person has sins from his head, top of his head, up to the feet, these sins will be dropped by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these four qualities must be very, very important. Of course, if someone has these qualities, he would not, make sins. First, وهي الوفاء بما يجعل لله على نفسه. The first quality of these four is wafa, to be loyal to what he undertakes to do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you promise Allah to do something, or when you are His servant, there is something that you have accepted. Either you say, I'm not your servant, I'm not your abd, you are not my master, that's another issue, but you have accepted, especially if you make some specific also promises. Al-wafa'u bima yaj'alu lillah ala nafsih. To be loyal to what he undertakes, he puts on himself to do because of Allah. For the sake of Allah, he undertakes something, he takes something on his shoulder. Second, وَصِدْقُ اللِّسَانِ مَعَ النَّاسِ. To be truthful with people. Not only we should be truthful to Allah, truthful to imams, we should be truthful with people. وَالْحَيَاءُ مِمَّا يَقْبُحُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. The third thing is that he should have haya, modesty, a kind of positive shame, that you are ashamed of doing something which is ugly, which is bad, عند Allah وعند الناس. If a person keeps himself or herself away from bad things in public, and also what is عند Allah ugly, he has this haya and modesty. وَحُسْنُ الْخُلْقِ مَعَ الْأَهْلِ وَالنَّاسِ. Is if he has good temper, he is good natured with his family and people. So if Allah inshallah gives us these four qualities, then we have very good position in dunya and akhirah. Your iman is complete, you would have no sins left. Of course, the sins which might be before having these qualities, because as I said, these qualities would not leave any chance of committing sins. Al-wafa, صدق اللسان, حياء, حسن الخلق مع الأهل والناس. Then after this, Imam alayhi salam mentions four things that seem to be more actions. These four are four qualities, and then Imam mentions four actions, and he says, أربع من كن فيه من المؤمنين أسكنه الله في أعلى عليين. There are four things that if any mu'min has got these four, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will let him settle in highest of the positions. في أعلى عليين في غرف فوق غرف. In a room, in a place above all other places. في محل الشرف كل الشرف. In a place of honor which is perfect in being honorable. So what are those four? First, من آوى اليتيم ونظر له فكان له أبا. The first action is the one who gives refuge to an orphan, provides an orphan with care, and looks at the orphan with care, takes care of orphan, and acts as a father for the orphan. This is how important it is to take care of orphans. The second, من رحم الضعيف وأعانه وكفاه. The one who shows rahmah, kindness, mercy to a person who is weak and helps him, وكفاه, and provides him with what would be sufficient for him. Whatever he needs, he would give him as much as would be sufficient for him. So protecting orphans, helping and making sure that they have enough for weak people. The third, وَمَنْ أَنْفَقَ عَلَى وَالِدَيْهِ وَرَفَقَ بِهِمَا وَبَرَّهُمَا وَلَمْ يَحْزُنْهُمَا. The one who spends on his parents. Sometimes maybe your parents are not well off. You should be ready to spend on them, but without feeling any pain, without obliging them, without saying any word of not being happy. أنفق على والديه, he spends on his parents. وَرَفَقَ بِهِمَا, and is very kind and considerate with them. وَبَرَّهُمَا, do good things for them. وَلَمْ يَحْزُنْهُمَا, and doesn't make them sad. And the fourth, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَخْرِقْ بِمَمْلُوكِهِ. If someone has a slave or maid, or someone who is working for you, maybe we can, although it says mamluk, someone who is owned, but it can perhaps be extended to someone who is under you, working for you. Maybe you have a servant, maybe you have an employee, someone who is under your control and command. You help that person ala ma yukallifuhu. When you give him a task, you help him. If you have a servant who helps you with cleaning home or cooking, whatever, don't let that person do 100% and you just relax. Try also to help. Or if you say, carry something, try also to take something. Do some help. وَلَمْ يَسْتَسْعِهِ فِي مَا لَمْ يُطِقْ, and would not make him forced to do something that he cannot do it. Imagine how much power he has, how much rest he needs, how much food he should have, how much work can make him exhausted. So you have to be considerate. So if someone looks after an orphan and is helping and providing with sufficient means a person who is weak, looks after his parents, spends on them, doesn't make them sad, and helps those that are under him, then Imam alayhi salam says he would be in the highest positions in A'la al-Liyin, and he would be in a room above all the rooms, and he would have complete honor. Very beautiful hadith, and I hope inshallah we would have those 4 qualities and inshallah these 4 practices. Each of these should be put in a kind of manifesto for our community, that when we want to set up our community, what are our vision, what are our priorities, we should put this into, inshallah, some kind of manifesto, something as a plan that inshallah we should try to achieve. So wafa is very important. As you see, it has come in the first rank. Wafa is so important that even with respect to enemies has to be observed. It's like justice. It has to be observed even with respect to enemies. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Tawbah, verse 7. You know, Surah Tawbah was a kind of declaration of bara'ah to mushrikeen who used to kill, torture Muslims, confiscate their properties. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 7 that إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آهَدْتُمْ عِنْدَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. Those that you have a covenant with them, ahd with them, these are the people that are excluded. You should not fight them. فَمَا اسْتَقَامُوا لَكُمْ فَاسْتَقِيمُوا لَهُمْ. As long as they are loyal, you must be loyal. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves muttaqin. So this is a requirement of taqwa, that even a person from Mecca, a pagan that was killing you, torturing you, if you made a promise with them, a covenant with them, ahd with them, you must keep it. In Surah Anfal, verse 72, this is also very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if there are Muslims in Mecca who are oppressed, who are mazloom, and they ask you for help, for their iman, for being able to continue, they ask you for help. وَإِنِ اسْتَنْصَرُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ. If they ask you for help with respect to their religion, فَعَلَيْكُمُ النَّصْرِ. You must help them. But there is an exception. If you have to help them against people with whom you have a covenant, you have a treaty, then you cannot. وَإِنِ اسْتَنْصَرُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ فَعَلَيْكُمُ النَّصْرِ إِلَّا عَلَى قَوْمٍ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُمْ مِيثَاقٌ. Unless it is against people with whom you have mithaq, you have covenant, treaty. Imagine a situation that there are faithful people who are under zulm, injustice, pressure. They ask you to help them with iman, otherwise they are going to be killed or lose their iman. Still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you help them if there is no treaty. If you have made treaty, you have to be loyal to your treaty. If that treaty is possible to be cancelled, for example, it has a time that will be cancelled, that's another issue. But as long as that treaty is there, you cannot disregard it. This shows how important it is. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is quoted as saying, La deena liman la ahda lah. The one who does not show loyalty to his treaty, he is not a believer. He has no deen, he has no iman, he has no faith. Or in another hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Man kana yu'minu billah wal yawmil akhir falyafi idha wa'adah. Man kana yu'minu billah wal yawmil akhir. Whoever has iman in Allah and the day of judgment, falyafi, إِذَا وَعَدَ. He must keep his promise when he makes a promise. So, Wafa is such an important quality, and I think there is no doubt that Islam wants a society in which people trust each other. You know, it would be really disastrous if you cannot trust people. If people tell you something which is not true. If people give promises but they don't keep the promises. You go and want to buy something, they tell you lies. Or they tell, we give you this, they give something else. Or they say, we give you these, services, afterwards there is guarantee, so on and so forth. There is nothing there. So there is no truthfulness. There is no loyalty. This is Jahannam. You don't know whom you can trust. We need to have trust. When people say something, they should really mean it. And they should do their best to keep what they say. And it becomes very intensive when you formally agree with someone on something. It can be like marriage. It can be, partnership in some work. When you have ahd, which is mutual, which is bilateral, or maybe more than two sides, this becomes very, very intense. But even if it is unilateral and you promise, you have to keep. So, loyalty is connected to truthfulness. Loyalty is connected to adl, justice. Because when you commit yourself, so you are giving a right to that person over yourself. And that right has to be observed. When you tell your child that I'm going to take you, for example, to see your grandmother, now he has a right, she has a right. And if you don't keep it, you have done zulm. So you were not truthful in what you said, and even if at that time you said it but you didn't try to keep it, you are somehow not truthful because you didn't do your best. And if you do your best, at least you have done zulm. You have to try to find somehow a way to compensate. Don't say I really cannot. Okay, you cannot, but now he has a right. You have to do something so that he would exempt you, forgive you. Do you get my point? So even if you don't have really ability to keep your promise, you have to accept that that person has a right. Like for example, I say I'm going to buy this house from you. You tell other, buyers to go away. Then I really cannot buy from you. Okay, you might lose a lot in this process. So from a moral point of view, I have to make sure that you are happy with me, you are pleased with me. I am not talking about legal aspect, about fiqh aspect. There are many details you can check with, Risaleh and fiqh. But definitely from a moral point of view, you have a responsibility because you committed to buy this from that person. And based on your word, he has planned. So, trust is here very important. Truthfulness is very important. Justice is very important. Also gratefulness. Another quality which is involved here is gratefulness. When someone does something for you, your husband, your wife. As I said last week, maybe you are divorced, but you have had good time with each other. You had benefited from each other. Your teacher, your, I don't know, in-laws, your leaders, your marja, the people who have somehow helped you, somehow benefited, you have benefited from them. Gratefulness also requires loyalty. The country that has given you means of life, education, you have responsibility towards that country. Governments are different. You know, maybe there is once a good government, bad government, but I'm talking about the country, about the land. No one should betray his country. This is not a political issue. This has nothing to do with, you know, the ruling party or, you know, the opposition party. This is about, I am talking about the land, about the country, about the nation. So these are few things that I think are very important and fundamental with respect to loyalty. Trust, truthfulness in word, justice, gratefulness, and as we said, all of these things in the end go back to haqq, truth. Everything is from commitment to the haqq. If someone is truthful, not only in word, someone is 100% trying to follow haqq, to make sure that he complies with haqq, he is at the service of haqq, then he would not be disregarding his promises or his debt or the things that people have done for him. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah give all of us this important quality of loyalty, and may Allah inshallah make this a quality that we all would be known and would be a kind of mark for us that these are people who are loyal, these are the people who are honest and trustworthy. Thank you very much. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.